Well, this is an interesting time to be a fan of Transformers, especially the movies. Now, we haven't got too long until Transformers The Last Knight comes out, and already we are getting a bunch of promotional stuff for the film. And a certain character who's getting such a huge push in terms of promotional stuff is of course Bumblebee. And I know this character always gets a huge push when it comes down to these films, but it seems like Bumblebee is getting even more of a push this time around in comparison to the previous movies. Now, in this film it has been established that the Transformers have been around since the beginning of mankind and has even had a huge impact in World War II. Now, although you only get glimpses of the flashbacks during World War II, one of the characters who are very prominent within World War II is of course Bumblebee. And just recently we actually have a poster featuring Bumblebee during World War II. Now, it is pretty evident that Bumblebee has a completely different design during World War II, but when you really look at his design closely, it's a lot more interesting than you may realise, as World War II Bumblebee somewhat resembles the Generation 1 incarnation of Bumblebee. Now, clear as day, I am not saying that this is exactly the same as this, because as you could see, both versions of Bumblebee look completely different from one another. Most obvious is of course his head design, but when you really look at the World War II Bumblebee design, it does have a few similarities that do resemble Generation 1 Bumblebee. For starters, World War II Bumblebee does have wheels right next to his arms, in a similar fashion to G 1 Bumblebee. And I know Bumblebee does have wheels around his arms in previous other films, but I feel like the World War II Bumblebee in particular has the wheels around his arms stand out more, in a similar fashion to G1. And also when you look at the body size of World War II Bumblebee, he is a lot shorter, and not to mention his limbs do seem to be a lot more chunky, especially with his legs. And again, if you look at G1 Bumblebee and his limbs, you can kinda see some similarities. Now obviously World War II Bumblebee is going to have a completely different vehicle form, and many fans have been theorising that Bumblebee will have a similar form to G1, as many fans have been theorising that Bumblebee will transform into a Volkswagen Beetle, as Volkswagen Beetles were prominent during World War II back then. Now, I know in the title of this video I have referred to this version of Bumblebee as Classic Bumblebee, however I use the term classic in quotation marks, as World War II Bumblebee in this film is not 100% G1 Bumblebee. And I feel like when they were designing World War II Bumblebee, they've done a similar thing with Megatron's design in the same film, as evidently this Megatron isn't exactly the same as Generation 1 Megatron, however you can see some influences from the original design here and there, such as his helmet when he has his tusks on, as well as having a variation of his fusion cannon on one of his arms. And although this isn't technically Generation 1 Bumblebee, it is a pretty nice touch the way they decided to design World War II Bumblebee into something that is more reminiscent to Generation 1 Bumblebee. So how do you feel about the World War II Bumblebee design, and do you appreciate the Generation 1 influence? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video, please like and subscribe, take care and have a good one.